two epic matches have been announced for Forbidden Door. A rematch between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay for the IWGP US title. Will Ospreay defeated Lance Archer in that tournament final, ensuring that he will walk into Forbidden Door to continue what started at Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. And then a match I don't think anybody saw coming, that just kind of just was like, oh, this is what we're doing this year. So Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. And so whatever Forbidden Door wasn't last year, right? Like we got through last year with all the injuries. We got through the last minute card changes, the whole bunch of tag matches and everything like that. And this year we're getting the real.
Yeah. Now, I just had figured that we were going to get Moxley versus Okada based off of what's been going on in New Japan between Moxley and Okada in these American pay-per-views. But there's time to do that eventually down the line too. And obviously, that still is BCC versus Okada, which leads to possibly the friends that Kenny Omega was or people that he was going to reach out to get back at against BCC eventually.
Can we get another Okada Omega like tag team preview match on Dynamite? Can we do that?
I mean, I'm in. All right.
Do it against like Claudio and Wheeler Yuta or something.
Yeah. Now, last year we ended up getting Cesaro filling in for Danielson. There's going to be Danielson versus Sabre. And while that was going to be a great match, like this is a whole different level of match. And this is something I'm far more interested in, quite frankly. No disrespect to Sabre, but like we're talking about arguably two handfuls of greatest wrestlers to ever breathe. So doing this and then like that, and then like they're still in their primes, right? And like that still might not be the best match on the show because it's Ospreay and Omega. So like
some of the most. I was talking with Josh about this earlier. Between those two matches, there may not be another night in wrestling history that's going to be as competitive as this one. Between those two guys trying to have the best. I know there have been some Wrestle Kingdoms that have had stuff like that. There's been some Dominions where, there's like Will Ospreay and Dragon Lee. There's Will Ospreay and Hiromu Takahashi, and then whatever Okada's doing. Ironically, I think whenever like Kenny and Okada are kind of split up, there are some different times too. It's like, all right, Kenny versus Jericho, Okada versus Naito, and then these like pairings that go on. I think this one's is the best split pair that there's ever been, and I'm so excited for this. Like I think it's great, especially with how the TV for Forbidden Door and like the build kind of struggled last year. We're coming out the gate already with like just jaw-dropping matches. But obviously, the match with Ospreay and Omega, which was like the match of the year so far, and like some people say like the match of the decade, and then
it is for me. It's a front runner for match of the decade so far. Is there another match from the 2020s that have been better than that you can think of? Maybe like the Hangman Kenny Omega versus Young Bucks match, but that's the only thing. Maybe even like maybe even the tag match or the tag cage match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. Those are the only three that come to mind for me immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Not to say that there's not other matches. Obviously, like like you could say like a couple like the G1 match between Ospreay and Omega last year or something that's on there. But I'm just saying like
Okada and Ospreay.
Yeah, Okada and Ospreay and Shingo from 2021 or 2020. Can't remember which one it was. Like there's stuff. The 2020 night one of the G1 between Okada and Ibushi is also up there. But there's plenty of stuff. But like you can throw some Walter Dragunov stuff too. Mm-hmm. It's just for me like being there, like 150 feet away, or 200 feet away watching. I was like, yo, this is incredible. I haven't watched that match back. And I was like, yo, this is incredible. And I had just saw a 5-star match a few days before, like a week before. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm interested to see what it's going to look like when it's actually like I can watch the television copy. Not to say that I can't go back and watch them, but like it's one thing to be somewhere and experience something. It's nothing to like watch the TV copy of it. And quite frankly, compared to a lot of seats in these buildings, like the TV copy is a better version if you have good camera direction.
Yeah, man, it was a real treat to get up and watch that morning. But for Danielson and Okada, that's just like it's like yeah, you always kind of thought about that match, but it's like, well, how would that ever happen? And
Yep.
It's nice to know Tony Khan has the interest, and Gato has the interest in seeing this match as well.
Like for example, right? We were talking about like last year's build and last year's mat cards, and like with no Kenny Omega there. If obviously it was missing something on the table, it still ended up being one of the greatest shows of all time. Right. But it still was like there was still stuff left on the table. It looks like the stuff that was left on the table is being picked the fuck up. Like no disrespect, Okada in a 4-way with Page and Cole and White and who was the fourth person? Page, Cole, White, and Okada, right? Yeah, like those are 4 great wrestlers. Like it's not the same thing as having Okada in a singles match. It's same thing when we talk about like in a lesser degree, but like the same thing we talk about like Utami, right? When she's in tags, or trios, whatever else. She's a single specialist. There's something that she has in singles matches that is totally different when she's thrown in the undercard or wherever else in these tag matches. She's a totally different level of wrestler. You can argue the same for sure. She's a little more versatile to make it work for her, right? To get this and to get it against somebody that's that good and to get it against somebody that is like that's wrestle like in that style or whatever else that reminds you of like watching stiff Japanese matches. It's obviously going to work like a glove and a fist. It's going to be awesome. And like, it's always one of those dream match things. Like, oh yeah, this is the best wrestler in America. This is the best wrestler in Japan. Well, we're doing in the middle of a fantasy draft right now. This is something that you would have picked. Like if you take your first round pick, if you're lucky enough, you get one or the other one in the second round, and like this is my main event right here. Boom.
Yeah, very
awesome.
Excited. Us as fans should rejoice over things like this, and I'm telling everyone right now, do not let them steal your joy. They're out there. They're ready. They want to repeat everything they did last year when they talk about who is this, what's the story. Fuck all that. Fuck them. Don't worry about it.
They can't even do it with this one because they're in the middle of a story right now. When you say what's the story between them, you're saying, hey, I don't watch these Japanese guys. That's really what you're saying because it's been there. Like BCC and especially Moxley wrestling against Okada, that's been happening all year or for a lot of this year. So like you can't even say that. Like you're just saying like I'm ignorant. That's really what you're saying, which obviously is kind of the case in a lot of these situations. But like this one's like there's not even like a once you say that, like I'm just gonna like just return serve and just smash it like I'm Serena Williams some shit. Like that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, man. But it does bring into question what both champions may be doing on the show. Someone like a CM Punk who will be back by then. Tanahashi last year, Adam Cole, Page, Swerve, Orange Cassidy, different guys like Ishii. Where will he be? Shingo,
Hiromu can get in this time.
Hiromu Takahashi, yes. And it's like I wonder where all the chips are gonna fall. But wherever they fall, they falling underneath them 2 top matches. So I don't, Tetsuya Naito,
Like what's Jericho gonna do? Yeah,
Jericho.
Look,
the young guys in New Japan, your Yota Tsujis and
Shota and Ren Narita, yeah. Especially Umino needs to come back after what happened last year's show. Definitely, he got over so well. He was so good. Yeah. Definitely. But I again say is like after last year's show, knowing who was missing, like you said, like think about it. You said you don't know what they're gonna do with MJF, you don't know what they're gonna do with Sonata, the two champions. Quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. Like MJF does not show up on the show. Not only do I not care, I'm probably happy that he's not going to be there if he doesn't do it. He just says, "I'm not doing that." I worked myself into a shoot by saying all this shit about them or whatever else. I'm done. / I don't want to work these dudes anyway because then I have to actually like wrestle, and I don't really want to do that except for like once a month. Whatever. Don't care. Like this is a celebration of like, like All Japan birthed Noah. New Japan more than any other promotion birthed AEW. So, like, them doing this is really fucking cool. And if MJF doesn't partake in it, I do not care. Great wrestler, don't care.
He can keep
same for CM Punk. Don't care.
He can keep all the people who he's poisoning with that shit because obviously he's doing a gimmick, right? But
right.
He's like poisoning these people that really feel like that to like bring that negativity off to this show. And nah, we don't need it. We just need the greatness. I don't necessarily need CM Punk here either, personally.
If you're MJF and those are those are the first two matches announced for the show, why the fuck would you want to participate? They give you a singles match and you're not even going to be in the same realm?
Look, and then
what are you gonna give him? Shingo? Shingo's the only person is that it?
That's Shingo, Ishii. I hear
he don't want to wrestle Ishii. He thinks, or he'll do the gimmick of like, he's da 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 da, but whatever. But like, who could they give him to make it be good enough to make him match up with that?
MJF saying he likes Okada is a great bit. Yes, that's the part that gives it away that he's clearly joking. But
right,
I've always wanted to see Shingo and Hangman. Well,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so we can stack this up with singles, or they can fill this out, with tags or multi-mans, like group stuff.
You think there'll be a trios match with like Hangman and the Young Bucks versus somebody?
Could be.
Yeah.
The only thing is like, I think
LIJ maybe.
There's LIJ. There's like,
LIJ and Naito likes the Young Bucks and everything. So
yeah, man, it's I'm very, very like happy and look forward to Forbidden Door, but